Hello, is my audio running? The camera froze up as I started that, so hopefully this is actually coming through. Good evening. Thank you for joining me. So you've got a few there. Cobb, Majenko. Oh, RF Programmer, hello. Who else am I missing? Anyway. Yes, I am a dude. Thank you. Right, so what we're looking at today is this thing, which is a DEC VT240. Hey Zen, how are you doing? You might notice there's something missing from this compared to other DEC terminals, which I can't reach at the moment. It doesn't have a display. I do have the correct display for it in the garage. It is covered in the sort of thing that things get covered in when they're left in someone's attic for about 30 years. So I haven't yet fired it up. No cooking stream. It's just the kitchen is the only place I have any room to work, unfortunately. So I haven't tested this yet. Two reasons. One is that I don't have the cable hooked up to anything. And you need the right cable to get graphics out of it because the keyboard plugs into the far end of that cable, which is useful. And secondly, I've already taken the top off to have a look. And here's the power supply from it. And I don't know if the secondary cam is actually working. Let's have a look. No, that's failed. Excellent. We do love a technical difficulty. One moment. Right, so we have everybody's favourite cracked reefers. One there and one in there somewhere. This camera angle is dreadful, I do apologise. Yes, cooking with a soldering iron, indeed. So we need to get those out first, and probably also these, because they are slightly bulgy, ever so slightly. But they're right next to the main pass element anyway, so they might have had a hard life. So we'll... Oh, yes, I am replacing them. I would usually replace them with something other than reefers, but unfortunately reefers are all I could get. And why? Okay. This is obviously not working very well. Let's kill the... Yeah, I don't know what. It worked absolutely fine in all my testing, and then for some reason, no, disappears. There we go, gone. So yeah, we'll get those caps out, replace them, put it back in, have a look inside, and then we shall build an adapter PCB so that we can actually plug it into a monitor and see what happens. So let's get started on that, and hopefully this will not make a dreadful noise, but do sing out if it does. Well, one is the internal camera on the MacBook, which is the one that keeps freezing up, and the other is on a separate USB route in theory. Yeah, I've no idea, unfortunately. But yeah, it was working absolutely fine whenever I tested during the week. As soon as it goes live, no, not having it. Always the way, I suppose. So, where are we going? I'll tell you what would be useful if I got the actual capacitors out, wouldn't it? What are we looking at here? These are 100 microfarad 250 volts. So, let's see if CPC managed to ship me any that work. Yes, it's a Mac. I do apologise. Well, there's one. There. CPC did a wonderful job, and they just chucked these bare in a box. So. Yeah, that's brilliant. But it's my own fault because I forgot to order them from Mouser when I was ordering all the other bits. No, Cobb, it's running off the actual working laptop that is usually fine. It's the Air that dies. This is an M1 Pro. Good news for those keeping track on my tab counts. It's down from this time last week I had 2,727 open on this one, and it's down to 1,200 as of last night, so making progress. It is not cap map, no. I do have... Oh no. Oh dear. I do have a list somewhere, which I shall stick on CapsWiki at some point. There we go, we are at 350, so let's see if we can get these reefers out. Where are we? Let's try this one first. We have everybody's favourite, what is it, ZD915? Techmoan had one out the other week, which is always fun, but he couldn't get it to work either. Well, that was remarkably straightforward. Let's have a look. Does it pick that up? That looks like it's about moments away from disaster, so luckily I thought to check this one before I plugged it in, unlike the HP machine that let one rip in my office before Christmas and blew my breaker, which was brilliant fun. And where's this one? There, I think. No. Oh yeah. That one would not like having anything applied to it at this stage of its life, I imagine. And these 4 electrolytics, isn't it? So... Okay, they've bent the legs over on these, that's exciting. And I've just realised I'm turning it away from you, aren't I? So apologies for that. Do you want me to kill the audio for a moment, or hang on, I need solder. Where's the solder? There's the solder. Whoops. Right, let's see. Well, let's move on to another one and see what happens there. Yes, I'm sure it does, but I thought sheep were more his style. Let's have a look. I don't know. What do we think? Is that... if I can find the camera, that would help. Yeah, well, it's out now. Let's just make sure the board was marked. Yes, it was. There's plus. Excellent. Ooh, that would have been fun. Come on. I don't think we really need to think about Majenko's bulge, do we, Cobb? Or will he be treating us to that later, after Shelby? Come on. Just for the sake of clarity, this is only about 50% common or garden incompetence here. The rest of it is down to that I only have one working eye, really, and I haven't done much soldering since I got these new glasses a few years ago, and it's a bit trickier than I remember it being, which is unfortunate. Let's make sure that's clear, actually. Where's the rodding thingy? Oh yeah, okay. Is that not... What it needs is fresh solder, I think. The big Clive approach. I don't know if that was actually turned up to something useful, wouldn't it? Right. A Met cow would be lovely, yes. For most of what I do, this Hako is fine. It's the FX888, not the 888D, because the digital interface on that is absolutely atrocious as far as I can tell. This one has a proper twiddly knob on the front, which is always a lot easier to deal with. Yeah, where's my flux pen? Flux pen. Ah. Yeah, I might have to get the flux paste out. Right. One thing I have noticed with flux on the desoldering gun, it doesn't really like that. You get the vapour up in the vacuum chamber thingy, which is not fun to clean. Okay, that one's still too bent over. Let's... Okay, what can we do here? See if we can straighten those a bit. Maybe not. Well, this is going superbly well. I thought we'd be done with this in 20 minutes, but obviously not. Yes, for those of you who are not regular Tech Tangents viewers, if there are any left, Shelby usually streams starting at 7 o'clock GMT, so in 35 minutes or so we shall wait for him to show up and then raid into him, I think. And then I believe at 9 o'clock, yes indeed, I believe at 9 o'clock Majenko will be taking over with a stream of his own, as he usually does after Shelby on a Friday. What are you working on this evening, Majenko? Is it still soldering up? Last night it was soldering up one of your Aliens pulse rifle boards, wasn't it? More of that this evening, or have you found something else to torture us with? Aha. Well, we shall look forward to finding out then. Come on. This is ridiculous. It's almost free, so why is it... Oh, there's shmoo on the bottom. Aha. Right, well, that's that one. Can we see through the holes? That is the question. Oh, we can. Excellent. Yeah, so one more to go. Almost there. Whoops. Dreadful trigger discipline, that's the problem. Wobble it enough, it'll eventually come out. I'm sure that's the answer. Aha! There we go. Right. If I can find some solder wick, we'll just clean that up slightly. Right, and you'll be glad to know that's the end of the desoldering, so if you'll excuse me a moment, I've just realised what I forgot to get myself was a glass of water before I started. Back in a moment. Yes, thank you, Machenko. Cobb, I think jambalaya, but it depends on how I'm feeling once we're done with this. It might just be peri peri chicken or something of that ilk. We shall see. Right, so what we want, let's do these electrolytics first, on the grounds that I've got them on hand already. And what I've just realised is the power output on this thing is a, what's that, 0.2 inch header, and I thought that was the one from the DEC Rainbow, so I'm hoping the cable for that is actually in the unit, otherwise we might be stuffed. So yeah, it'll be fun. Okay, excellent. Well, at least the caps physically fit, even if the legs are a bit bent. Right. Or, in some cases, where are we? Exceptionally bent. Well, I'm sure if we have any what's it, Cajun natives in the chat, they will be horrified at my pronunciation, but there we go. Right, come on, what's up here? What's up here is massive traces sinking away the heat, so let's crank that up a little bit. Sorry, that camera angle really is dreadful, isn't it? I gave myself about an hour to get ready for the stream, and as you all saw, it really should have been more like an hour and a half. Admittedly, 20 minutes of it was spent looking for some cutters because they'd gone to ground in the study. So I was minutes away from having to try and do this with a pair of electrician's pliers instead, which would have been entirely the wrong kind of exciting. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, that looks fine. So now I realise this is not considered the correct technique, especially if you're doing real work, but sometimes life is too short. Right, we need the replacement reefers, which are here somewhere. There we go. Yeah, as I was saying earlier, I wouldn't usually replace reefers with more reefers. Whenever I've done this in the past, I've picked something a bit better, but I mean, modern ones sorry, modern ones probably won't fail right away, and it's not like they can have a particularly hard life anyway. So let's pop one in there. Maybe that's more like it, and one in there. Although that said, this terminal might be a bit of a bulky beast compared to my other DEC terminals. I've got a small collection of hopefully a 220 soon, a 320, a couple of 420s and a 510. But the reason I was delighted to add this to the menagerie is that it has the 4 as the middle digit. Right, let's remember to do that next time. And certainly from the 200 series onwards, that indicates the capability level of the thing. A 1 is a single monochrome, single page. Yes, you can have one of my 420s, I think, if that suits you, because I don't need 2 of them. So a 1 would indicate a basic single session, single page monochrome text only machine. A 2 I think indicates dual session typically. I don't know if that's the case on the 220, it certainly is on the 420 and the 520, but still monochrome text only. Once you get to the 3s, that's monochrome but adds graphics support, and when you get to the 4s, that adds colour and graphics support. So this one supports standard DEC stroke ANSI text mode, plus Sixel graphics, which is a bitmap protocol for encoding bitmap graphics as ASCII and printable ASCII. It supports Regis, which is the remote graphic instruction set for plotting vector graphics through an ASCII data stream, and it also supports TEC 4000 series terminal emulation. So that should be fun to play with. If we can get it working, we'll do some Sixel stuff quickly and hopefully fire up GNU plot and get it to draw some pretty charts or something. Right, so no, that's not the soldering done. That's the power supply repaired. The other thing we need to build, of course, is the PCB. So with the adapter PCB, which is quite a simple thing. It's just DA15 connector to go into the back of the terminal, or the DEC Rainbow, because they have very, very similar pinouts. Well, they have identical pinouts, they just use it slightly differently. DE15 for VGA. Unfortunately, it has to be a VGA monitor that supports sync on green, which limits your capability somewhat. I've put in a phono jack for composite monochrome video and a 4P4C jack there for the keyboard, which is a DEC LK201. So shouldn't be too much soldering to do there. All I have to do is find the parts, so bear with me. Oh, bloody hell, it's 22. Well, we'll get as far as checking that the pinouts are right, and maybe finding out if it beeps when you turn it on. Right, so what do we have there? That's that one. And that one. Oh, I forgot there are all sorts of other projects in here. Excellent. Right. Those three will probably do the job. Unless I can find... Ah, there we go. Right. Well, this is exciting packaging from Mauser. What's in here? Yeah, I've only used, well, I say only used DEC ones. I have used IBM ones, but because they're not ASCII, they're EBCDIC, it doesn't really count. But yeah, I did all the initial bring up for System 1 I did with a 420 because, I mean, you can use a serial emulator on a computer. And well, okay, I'll tell a lie. I did to do the initial fourth downloads to it, but if you're sitting there actually typing on the thing, it's more fun to actually have a glowing green phosphor and a proper keyboard and all the rest of it. But right, that's the last one. So the other thing I've done with this, because the difference between the Rainbow and the VT240, the 240 is essentially a colour terminal. It has 6-bit, internally it's 6-bit TTL RGB, so same as EGA basically. So you've got your 4 levels each of red, green and blue. It has a basic resistor ladder DAC to turn that into analog RGB signals to the monitor, and it also mixes them down to monochrome, so the mono output is identical. Just obviously there's no color burst or anything in there, so it's just a grayscale output. The rainbow, on the other hand, has the base system only has monochrome text, and color and graphics were an optional extra with the color graphics adapter, not to be confused with IBM's color graphics adapter, which is remarkably more capable, but because you might want to have a monochrome system with graphics, what they did is they had the graphics adapter not drive the RGB pins by default. It drives the red pin, the blue pin, and the monochrome pin with the green signal. So what that means is if you just plugged this in as it was soldered up for, I must remember to do that, a VT240, you would get no... That isn't the part I thought I'd bought. Oh well. Oh yes, it is. You would get magenta and no green channel, and because the sync is on the green, that's not going to work very well. So I added solder jumpers on this so that you can configure it for either green on green or monochrome on green. So on the 240 you go with green on green, on the rainbow you would typically go monochrome on green. But what you could do is wire it up so that you've got the monochrome on the monochrome jack and you've got green on green for VGA, and then in theory the rainbow can be a dual monitor system. I believe Lotus 123 came with a driver that'll do that, and I happen to have an original copy of Lotus 123 with my rainbow, so assuming this stream doesn't turn into an absolute disaster in the next quarter of an hour, I will probably be looking at that at some point, but we shall see. First I've got to figure out how to solder this thing up with my eyesight. Right. The answer might have been to not put the phono jack in first, but there we go. I am not a bright man. Come on. Or pin in paste might have been nice, but oh well. Yeah, I thought I should have checked. I thought the VGA component was the VGA connector was taller. It's actually much of a muchness, really, but ugh, it's just awkward on the corner there. Anyway. So the other option jumpers I have included in this design are a possibly useless pair that will allow you to wire the green signal which carries the sync up to the H-sync and V-sync lines if you so wish, or ground them if you don't, or just leave them floating by default. And also because, as I said, not being a bright man, I'm about 99% sure I got the pin out of the keyboard right, but DEC's documentation is vaguely confusing, and the schematics for some of the machines that use the LK201 differ from the schematics of other machines that use the LK201. So I chickened out and put some anti-whoopsie jumpers in there, so if I have got it wrong, in theory I can just cut the trace and swap them over. But RX and TX getting it swapped wouldn't be a huge problem, but the plus 12 volt power supply and ground would. So both of those have emergency swap over jumpers on. Right, I'm going to have to get a magnifier out, sorry. I'm going to have to get a big magnifier out. Where's that gone? Don't like that. Okay, and we shall wire it up for green on green. There we Oh, please tell me I haven't made a pills of that footprint. Oh, there we go. Right. Okey-doke. And let's fit the presence detect line as well. I have no idea what that does. It's not actually mentioned in the manuals apart from showing up on the schematics, so I don't know whether it differs between the colour and the black and white monitor or what. But we'll connect it and see what happens, because that's always a good plan. Oh dear, 10-2. Well, it's not my smartest ever soldering job, but anyway, it might work. Let's have a look. Can the webcam focus that close? It cannot, but anyway, those are the anti-whoopsie jumpers. So, cut across and then to break the existing traces, and then just solder across the gaps. Oh blimey, that'll be fun for winding Shelby up. Of course, now he's moved the data generals out of shot in the studio, especially the dasher. It's Yeah, it'll be less fun winding him up, and it would be churlish for me to suggest that's exactly why he did it, of course. Oh yes, I saw the Nova showed up in one of the videos over Christmas, didn't it? Right, so what shall we do? It is coming up on, or it's coming on 5 to. Let's plug the thing in and see if one thing that let me move some stuff around so I can actually put this on the table. That goes up there. That burns my fingers and goes up here. Right, and those go up there. So one advantage that the VT240 has over the Rainbow in this respect, if I can find an angle where you can actually see it, is that it does have, so there's the video port, but it has a mono video output on the unit and a keyboard output, or keyboard connector on the unit. The Rainbow doesn't. You have to have the right cables to break those out. But what that means is we can plug this in, and hopefully it will fit. Yes, excellent. And then we can measure continuity and see if I've got the pinouts right before I actually risk any voltage anywhere. And hey, that actually fits as intended. So just plugs on the back and gives you the keyboard output and a VGA output. Should do the job. So where is there a multimeter? There is the multimeter here. And there's a serial cable which we are not going to get around to using, but such is life. Indeed, successful so far. So let's have a look. 152 ohms. That's an interesting reading to get on the monochrome signal. And open circuit ground to ground. Well, there's success and there's success, I guess. Okay, let's have a look at the keyboard connector. So, with the tab on the top leftmost one. Well, that's right. Rightmost one. Well, I've got the power the right way round, which implies I have the data the right way round because I based it on transmit being next to ground, I think it was, or maybe it was next to 12, one or the other. That seemed reasonably consistent. It was just the not getting good contact down there. Oh well. I wonder why that video is 150 ohms. Well, what we can do is find ground in the keyboard connector. Okay, so that's not ground, that's... you can't see. Excellent. Where are we? So, BNC connector for the video. I was probing conductor or signal conductor to the phono jack, but ground should be ground. Well, it's grounded there. But it's not connected to digital ground. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right, but I thought they were connected electrically just parallel downstream of the termination, source termination. Um, I shall have to consult the schematics and double check that. But for the time being, I am curious as to why I am not finding a ground. Where's ground on an RS-232 port? Is it pin 1? Or is it pin 7? Yeah, it's 25 pin, unfortunately. Well, the printer. No, this will predate IBM's standard 9 pin. Okay, well, anyway, it is coming up on 7. So I don't know. Do we consider that to be moderately successful, or do we consider that to be an absolute failure? Somewhere in the middle, perhaps. Did I leave the screws in? Yeah, so I can't easily pop the top off. Well, maybe we repeat this exercise next week or something, and then we'll take the top off and have a look inside and see if we can actually get any signs of life out of it. How does that sound to people? Yeah, I mean, no one dying is always a good thing, especially in my kitchen. But mind you, you've eaten my food, so yes. I perhaps shouldn't joke about that. No, definitely not weekly bowed stream. We shall see. I was thinking monthly might be sensible. About once a month is all the excitement I can take. But we'll see. The idea was, if there was sufficient interest, I could try, once we got this thing running, then dig out the Rainbow and have a look. But before I do that, what I need to do is get an 80-track floppy drive so that I can image the discs that came with it before I risk them in the thing, in case there's something wrong with the drive in there or whatever. I have, since I originally picked it up, along with some original floppies, I've collected a bunch of backup discs as well, so maybe that's not as important now. We can try booting off one of those. But before we get to that point, we absolutely need to test this adapter on something that I don't mind blowing up if it doesn't work. I should try switching back to the main cam, shouldn't I? Let me just see if I can do that. One moment. FaceTime camera. Hello. There we go. Main cam. There we go. Hello. And we'll turn off the secondary, because obviously it doesn't like that. There we go. Right. So thanks for joining me, folks. I imagine Shelby is going to be live any minute. If anybody can tell me, because I don't actually have notifications running. But yeah, like I said. Oh, excellent. Thanks for checking out, Majenko. So I am just seeing expected 150 ohm then. So that's fine. Right. Okay. Yes, indeed. And hi there, the industrious ant. We shall raid into Shelby, and I shall... After that, we'll be seeing Majenko, hopefully, and I shall catch some of you in the virtual pub after that. Yeah. Thank you very much. Raid. I'll set up the raid, and not sure where they joined. The schematic I saw did have it. Yeah, I had a look. I shall talk to you about it later. Anyway, chisel.